Good morning, all. Today we are interviewing Josh Paxton, one of Leigh's premier piano players. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Let's roll back to when you first got to New Orleans and when you met Leigh.
I moved to New Orleans in the summer of 1994, right before I started grad school. And I was obsessed with James Booker. Well, let's be fair, I still am. But the way I met Leigh was there was a concert called the Booker and Black concert that happened at I think it was the CAC. It was the music of James Booker and James Black. And there were various piano players on it. So I went to see that. And the way I describe it is I went for the piano, I stayed for the redhead. I was blown away. She brought the house down. She did Make a Better World, and I want to say Let Them Talk. I wouldn't swear to that one, but definitely Make a Better World. She did two, maybe three songs, and she was the highlight of the show for me. So that was how I first learned who she was. I don't remember how I first actually got in touch with her. My best guess is that I went to one of her gigs and introduced myself and basically said, hey, if you ever need a piano player, I'd love to work with you, in the sort of clueless, awkward way that I was prone to do back then. But I do remember the first time I ever actually played with her. She had called me to do a couple of gigs that for whatever reason I couldn't do. But the first time I ever actually performed with her was when I hired her to sing at my own first wedding at the Maple Leaf. I hired her, and Matt Perrine and Amicy Miller were also on the gig. And so it was at the Maple Leaf, and they're just doing their thing. And at some point during the reception, I tried to get a moment where I could sneak away and like maybe sit in with the band and have it not turn into a big stupid thing and call a bunch of attention to myself.
Yeah.
Well, that part didn't work. I remember this. She called Let Them Talk in G. And I was used to playing it in F, but I thought, okay, we'll give it a shot. We'll see how G goes. And the magic just happened. You know, we were in sync immediately. And after that, she started calling me for gigs, and I was her piano player.
You first recorded with her on House of Secrets, is that correct?
Yeah, on one song. That was Paint This Town. And I started working with her when the album was already close to being finished, or at least the tracking was close to being done. But she had this one song that she said she wanted to do, just her and me. So she had the chart, and she gave me a recording of a demo that somebody had done. And the demo was this very sort of modern jazz vibe that I was not real comfortable trying to cop at that time, but I kind of did the best I could. So then we got into the studio. Mark Bingham was producing it. We did a couple takes, and they weren't really great. And Mark Bingham, the producer, said to me, Josh, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just trying to play the tune the way it was on the demo. He said, what? Oh, no, geez, don't do that. The reason we brought you in here is I want you to play it like James Booker. And I went, oh, why didn't you say so? And then we nailed it in one take.
And what a take, too.
Thank you.
You did the Jazz Fest recording of it, correct?
Yeah. I don't actually remember what year that was, but I definitely didn't play it with her at Jazz Fest before we recorded it.
I did a Jazz Fest with her, and it was one of those, all these people on stage, and somehow or another, in all this near chaos, this miraculous music comes out.
That was the quintessential Leigh Harris Jazz Fest gig. There would be a million people on stage. We would have had two rehearsals, neither of which had more than half of those people in the room at any one time. And we would be set for disaster to happen, and somehow disaster was averted.
Yep, and somehow or another, it just turned out great.
Yeah.
So there's this recording you guys did at Carrollton Station. Leigh is up there, and there you hear the door move, and then she says, "Oh, people!" period. So I was gathering it was severely underattended. Could you talk about that one?
Oh, I have a vague memory of some of those gigs. I played at Carrollton Station with Leigh just as a duo several times.
Okay. Oh,
Some were more well attended than others, shall we say. And around that same time, we were also playing a lot at Dos Jefes as a duo. I think of those gigs as that's when Leigh and I really got tuned in with each other, especially on nights when it wasn't necessarily as well attended as we would have liked. The upside was we could try anything. And that's where we really got our repertoire together and our sort of just being in sync with one another, being able to play cat and mouse and follow each other anywhere. That's where that really developed. That was one of the great joys of working with Leigh, was that ability.
yeah. When she gets loose and comfortable, it's just amazing.
Hmm.
Period. Yeah. So you had recorded Polychrome Junction with her. And to me, the whole album is just amazing. The fact that it's just, if I remember correctly, two keyboard players and a percussion player and Leigh.
I haven't heard that record in a long time. It would be interesting to go back and sort of critique myself now, I guess. My main memory of the recording session was the piano was an absolute piece of crap.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was going out of tune. We had to tune it between every take.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
And that session actually instilled in me a lasting distrust, I guess, of compression in recording, because we're doing this stuff and the piano sounds, iffy at best. And the engineer kept going, "Oh, I got a way to fix that. It'll be great. You won't even notice it." And nowadays, if an engineer told me that, I'd be like, "Yeah, right." But back then, I was younger. I didn't really know as much. I went, "Okay, we'll just go with it."
Right.
And I guess I don't even really understand how this happened. But someone in the process of mixing it decided that the way to fix the intonation problem was to compress the hell out of it so that there were no dynamics left at all. So now I listen to it and it sounds like, instead of an out of tune piano, it sounds like an out of tune digital piano.
Oh, no. Did you rehearse or do Cloudburst with her before the session?
Oh, yeah, that was a regular tune in our rotation by the time we recorded it. I just remembered something about it that David Ellington, the other keyboard player, he played organ, I played piano, and he and I would do gigs together, just me and him and a drummer as a trio. And one of our tunes was a Bud Powell tune called Celia, bebop tune. And it had similar changes to Cloudburst. So when we
Okay.
got to the solo, for at least one chorus, he and I just played that melody together.
Okay.
So that was our slick little arrangement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So you had something to build on, and you were, and David was doing the bass with his left hand, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to that because there's some really nice work on that to support the tune.
Yeah, organ bass is its whole separate thing, and he got really good at it. I'm passably decent at it, but it's one of those things that you really have to kind of do constantly if you want to be good at it.
You did Dog Days with her, right? That,
Oh, yeah, we did that millions of times.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a great and very relative song for New Orleans. And
Hmm.
the ones that thought stood out, and please comment on them. Uh, well, Spring Can Hang You Up the Most and Poinciana. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, let's see. Spring can bring you up the most. That was one. I'm trying to remember how we started doing that and how we came to that arrangement, because that was a tune that I played that not many people did. And I think Leigh already knew it. And I think it was her idea to do it with that sort of 12/8 Latin feel. One thing I do remember is something we did at the end that I got from Ellis Marsalis's recording of that tune. At the very end, at the tag, he would do a thing where he'd play a big full chord on the downbeat, but then let up every note except for the melody note. That melody would still be ringing out. Actually, I can demonstrate it for you right now. I got that directly from him.
Nice.
And then Leigh did that vocally. So we would hit the band would hit the chord and cut out, and she'd keep singing the note. So that was my little stolen contribution to that arrangement. Poinciana, I remember how that arrangement happened. It was on a gig, I don't remember where, but Matt Perrine was on it. And she called that tune, and Matt on the tuba started playing the bass line to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On.
Yeah.
On Poinciana. And it worked. And so that became Leigh's arrangement. So even though Matt wasn't on that recording, we maintained that. And that was also how Leigh and I did it just as a duo. I did that same groove in the left hand, and I did this very sparse right hand, just offbeat quarter notes. Pretty much through the whole A section. But then later on, I developed my own solo piano arrangement of the tune, just playing it instrumentally. And I wanted that same feel. So I actually worked out a way to play something like that with just my left hand. And then play with the right hand over top of it. So that's an arrangement I did that I never would have come up with if not for doing it with Leigh.
I love it. Thanks for playing that. It stood out was Candy.
Oh, yeah. That was another one that we did many times together.
Yeah, totally different from the original Dixieland tune, you know?
It's funny. I hadn't heard that tune terribly much before I started doing it with Leigh. I'd heard Dr. John's version and maybe one or two others, but how she did it was sort of how I came to know that tune. So that's how the tune goes to me, is the way Leigh did it.
Remember, she used to start a lot of her sets up with "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." That was a great interpretation. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, I remember when she told me she wanted to do that tune, I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, like the Ray Charles version." Ray recorded that? Because I was a huge Ray Charles fan, but I'd never heard his version of it. So I went and checked it out, and I went, "Oh, okay, now I get it." I remember, wow, this is all coming back to me now.
Good.
There was something we did in the intro where I reharmonized it just a little bit, and I no longer remember how, but that was something I was very happy with at the time. Like, oh yeah, I really like how we've got this intro down.
Let's see. Well, if you mentioned Make a Better World, the Dr. John tune, you want to add a few minutes about that one?
I knew that tune from James Booker.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of where our arrangement was based on. One kind of funny thing I remember in the studio was we were tracking David's organ part. He'd done it once. He wasn't really happy with what he did, so he went to do it again. And he wasn't sure what kind of approach to use on the organ itself. Like, what kind of drawbar settings he wanted, what would be good for this tune, and, how to work the Leslie and all this stuff. And I said, David, it's very simple. All the drawbars out, Leslie on fast, don't touch it the whole time. And that's what he did. It was perfect. Yeah, just full gospel organ, balls to the wall, all the way through. That's what this song needs.
Let's see, Crazy Mirrors and You Always Knew Me Better and Paralyzed. Those are the last three on the album. Anything to comment about those?
Crazy Mirrors. That was one I always loved doing with her as a duo, because I was deep in my Henry Butler phase at the time. And that was when I could pull out all my Henry stuff. It worked really well on that tune. So doing it with the band was actually a little bit of a letdown. I mean, it was a great tune, and I love playing it with those guys. But I had to go, okay, I can't do my usual stuff. What am I going to do now? So I don't actually remember what I did. I hope it was decent. Was that the one that we did on Treme? No, that was... I can't remember what she called it. I always thought of, in my mind, it was the one that she said she had written about an old boyfriend of hers who she called Pineapple Head.
Backing up to Treme, you just mentioned something that I thought was nearly tragic. Was because I remember Leigh went down to record that, and you guys wound up being shoved into the background of the scene. And you could barely hear what you guys were doing. Whatever happened with that?
Oh, I wasn't disappointed with that because I never really expected it to be anything else, I guess. It's funny, though. I remember during the take, I think we only did one take or maybe two at the most. We kind of rehearsed it, and there was one point where the camera was panning over by me, and I sort of picked that moment and went, oh, this is my moment. I better play an impressive lick here. And I did. And then the camera cut away. And that ended up being more of a feature for me than it was for Leigh, in a way, I think, which I did feel kind of bad about because, it's her thing. I'm just the piano player there. But the thing that will stick with me forever from that little appearance is right when they cut away from us. If you remember in the episode, they cut to the Davis character and his aunt sitting at the bar. And the aunt turns to him and says, that piano player is cute as a bug. So for about a year afterwards, I was getting lots of cute as a bug jokes.
Just what you needed, huh?
Yep.
Congratulations, your moment of fame there.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I think we've covered plenty here. I really appreciate you talking about everything on Polychrome and some of other experience. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I remember something. The last time I saw Leigh, I don't know if you remember this. I came to your house and she was not terribly lucid all the time by then. And at one point, the two of you were in the kitchen and I was in the living room. I sat down at your piano and there was the sheet music to Stardust. That was a tune that I started playing with Leigh. I'd never played it before that, but she had it in her book, so I was just reading her chart. And for like at least a couple of years, that tune terrified me. I had no reference point for it. I didn't really understand how it was supposed to sound. And eventually I got a handle on it, and it became one of my favorite tunes to play. But I was at your house, and Stardust was sitting there on the piano. So I opened it up and started playing it. And from the kitchen, Leigh just said one word. I heard her go, "Oh." And I could tell just from the way she said it that she was hearing me. And because prior to that, she was sort of in and out. We'd talk, and I didn't really know if she was catching what was going on.
Yeah.
But that was a moment we had.
Yeah. It was absolutely, I remember it now that you mention it. The tune just meant a whole lot to her. I think that was really something that when you just accidentally played it, it really connected something beautiful with Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thanks for it was spontaneous, but it was something that Leigh needed.
Me too.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about Leigh and your experiences with her.
Happy to do it.
Thank you so much. Take
Thanks,
care.
Rick.
Take care. Bye bye.
Wonder why I spend the lonely night dreaming of a song, a melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again with you when our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. But that was long ago. Now my consolation is in the stardust of a song beside a garden wall. When stars are bright, you are in my arms. The nightingale tells his fairy tale of paradise where roses bloom, though I dream in vain. In my heart it will remain, my stardust melody.